Coming up to 12 minutes to 8. Whether it's raising the minimum wage or reducing taxes, most of the political parties would argue that a vote for them would mean more pounds in your pocket.
But average earnings in Britain have only just beaten inflation. Figures suggest wages are up, but that we are 6 years behind the rising cost of living.
Well, Steph's taken her Stephometer to Ballymena in County Antrim, Northern Ireland, to find out more. Morning, Steph.
Good morning to you. Have a look at this. This is the Galgorm resort in County Antrim, about 30 miles northwest of Belfast this morning. I'm here to talk about wages because the hospitality sector is an area that employs a lot of people, but of course doesn't have the best reputation when it comes to pay. And in Northern Ireland, 1 in 10 people who are working are on the national minimum wage. So wages is something that's a big topic for lots of people at the moment. If you look at the figures in terms of pay rises, average pay went up by 2.1% in the last 3 months to the end of March, but that is an average. It feels very different depending on what type of job you're in. So according to the Chartered Institute of Personnel and Development, only 25% of people think that wages will be going up this year. So lots of people who still don't feel the wage benefits. So I have been out and about visiting around the country ahead of the election, just looking at how people feel about it. I took my Stephometer out to the northeast to find out how people feel about wages there, and you can see it here with me this morning, just showing lots of people still don't really feel like their wages are going up very much. I know this is a bit cheesy and not that scientific, but it just gives us an idea of what people are feeling behind those average figures that we hear. Well, we've got some guests here we can talk to this morning about this. Rosemary, who's from the Institute of Directors, and Rhys from the Living Wage Foundation. Rosemary, let me start with you first of all. Just give us an idea about what businesses are saying about pay rises. Are they feeling confident about being able to give a decent pay rise, do you think?
I think it's important to put it in perspective because businesses have been through a really difficult time over the last couple of years with recession. I would say that businesses are seeing the green shoots of the recovery. So we will start to see small increases, but they need to be driven by business profitability. The businesses need, first and foremost, to stay in business. And if they're not in business, they can't pay people wages.
And Rhys, for you, campaigning for what you call a living wage, just explain what that is.
So the living wage is an hourly rate of pay. It's £7.85 an hour, so that's just over £1 more than the national minimum wage, and it's designed to give people a decent standard of living, which is very hard to achieve if you're on the minimum wage. And there is some good news. Certainly I think we are seeing some wage growth coming back in to the economy. But what's important is that employers have a really important role here, and in the living wage campaign we are essentially encouraging employers to adopt voluntarily this higher rate of pay to ensure their workers can afford a decent standard of living.
And you talk about affordability, but it's also from the business point of view, can they afford to pay people the living wage, do you think?
Yeah, and I think it varies by sector. I mean, we're here in this beautiful hotel today. Hospitality, as you said, is margins are very, very low. Competition's very severe. Therefore, they're going to struggle. Construction, another sector, really damaged by the recession, and therefore it's going to take longer for that sector to recover. But having said that, you know, there's also growth. There's growth in advanced engineering. There's growth in ICT. So there are lots of very healthy sectors, pharmaceutical sectors, and you know, IOD members' recent survey, 72% said that they paid their young employees more than not only the minimum wage but the living wage.
What do you think is the problem, Rhys, then?
Well, it is a sectoral problem. I mean, we've seen a huge growth in the number of employers who signed up to the living wage. It's now over 1,300. It's about 20% of the FTSE 100. But there are big gaps, and I mean, I'd pick out retail as being a really challenging sector. None of the big supermarkets pay the living wage, and certainly hospitality is another one.
So in terms of the election, what do you think we need to hear about in terms of wages?
Well, I think we need to hear from all parties, and I should say we have really strong cross-party support for the voluntary living wage campaign. Government should be encouraging and incentivising employers to do better than the national minimum wage. So you could offer some sort of investment and training support to businesses who move from the national minimum wage to the living wage, and government should pay the living wage.
And businesses happy with that?
Well, businesses don't want it to become an auction. They don't want the politicians to try and get the highest number. They want the experts, such as the Living Wage Commission or the Minimum Wage Commission, those experts to determine what it should be and help businesses get there.
Okay, thank you both for your time this morning. I'll let you eat your croissants now. I know you've been eyeing them up. That's it for me.